Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. Two fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrate the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! Welcome, everybody, to another goddamn motherfucking edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Mark the Fuck Out!
Actually, for trademark purposes, it's Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out. I'm Blade Daly, and I'm here with my co-hosts. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, the best Canadian pro wrestling podcaster in the history of Canadian pro wrestling podcasting. History, whatever. Anyway, it's Joshi G. Joshi G! How the fuck are you?
Hey, I Blade. I'm doing all right. I still have this freaking lingering cold. So the temperature has dropped a lot here, and I guess my body's not reacting very well. So I still have a cold, unfortunately. I am contemplating maybe not watching AEW anymore so I could get rid of my sickness.
What?
But no, I'm just kidding.
What?
It's not AEW's fault. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I see. Because you're a sicko, you think that by not watching AEW, you'll get over your cold.
Yes.
I thought we were made of stronger stuff than this, Joshi.
No, you're right. It's not AEW's fault that I have a crappy immune system. But speaking of sick, I wish Luchasaurus a full recovery. Hope he's going to be all right. I feel so sorry for the guy. I Blade Daily, you could chime in and give everyone the details, but yes, my heart goes out to him, and we wish him very well.
Yeah, Joshi, we're sending the good vibes and the big love to Luchasaurus / Killswitch, who is unfortunately in the midst of a pretty serious medical issue. Double pneumonia, so pneumonia in both lungs, was found passed out by his fiance, and blood oxygen level below like around 80%, which is extremely low. The typical is between 96 and 100, so that's very low. He is in serious condition right now, and I don't care about his wrestling career. I don't care about anything other than the man himself. I just hope he gets better. And everybody, please send good vibes. To the degree that vibes can matter, we should send them. Luchasaurus Killswitch, we wish you all the best. And we just hope you get better, man. Moving along, Joshi, I did watch the rest of Watchmen, finally.
Nice.
It's the first show, so I am not a binge watcher when it's just me, okay? If I'm watching a show with somebody like a partner or something, totally binge watch, right? But I binge watched this show, but just all on my lonesome. I stayed up till 4 a.m. one night.
Whoa.
Binge watching this show because it is so good. And this is the 2019 HBO follow-up to the original Watchmen. Cannot recommend it if you haven't seen it and you're a fan of Alan Moore and you're a fan of The Watchmen. I couldn't even imagine somebody trying to add any more to the original story because it's so good. I was honestly like a little like worried when I heard that this was happening. And then all I heard was good things. But again, it's hard for me to like pay super close attention to shows sometimes because I have ADHD and I'm just kind of all over the place and I'm fucking around on my phone. And, this is the kind of series you need to pay very close attention to. But holy shit, thank you for reminding me, Joshi, to check this one out. You were totally right. Absolutely amazing. And you know where I watched this show, Joshi?
Where?
On fucking Max. And you know why? Because HBO, starting in January, is going to be simulcasting Dynamite and Collision on Max. Joshi, I'm not sure what you're going to do yet because you are a Canadian. You have the unfortunate distinction of being a Canadian in this particular circumstance. But yeah, I have bought Max. I got Max like literally like a year ago, hoping that I could will it into existence that AEW would eventually end up there. But what a great app. What a great service. Hopefully they'll be in Canada soon.
Well, Craig, you better give us AEW or else I'm going to be very upset. We deserve it. And
Yes.
I Blade, real quick, you're welcome regarding the Watchmen recommendation. I actually thought it was better than the movie that came out so many years ago.
I thought it was way better. There's a lot about the movie that like is okay, and then there's certain things that don't make a lot of sense about the movie adaptation because they kind of just turn the people into conventional superheroes in the Zack Snyder movie, and that's not the premise of the book at all. It's these kind of ordinary people who don't have superpowers. They're not necessarily super fighters, they're like just dorks who are vigilantes, and the comedian's kind of, he's a trained fighter, but like, and Dr. Manhattan's the only guy with any special powers, and that's the premise. And the movie kind of gets away from that almost immediately. And yeah, I don't like that. So this captured the vibe and the spirit of it so well. There's some reveals in the show that are just unbelievable.
Right?
That just blow your fucking mind. And the whole, first 4 or 5 episodes of the show are like, you're literally disoriented and just trying to figure out what the fuck is happening. And when it all starts to come together, it is just chef's kiss kind of stuff. You just can't believe it. The other thing that I watched this week, I watched the remaining 4 episodes of the Vince McMahon documentary. Guys, shocker, Vince is a piece of shit. What a shock.
What'd you think?
Also, I think if you don't know anything about wrestling, I saw somebody made a meme of this or maybe just made a post about it, which is like, to the average person who's not a wrestling fan watching this, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe all this shit he did. And if you're a hardcore wrestling fan like we are, you're going, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't even put all the shit he did in this.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
it's like, Jesus Christ, there could have been so much more said.
It's true.
I thought that, the stuff about Shane is pretty heartbreaking. As a son who, I think a lot of sons have struggles with their dads. I've had my own struggles with mine, though we get along fantastically these days. I went through some tough years with my dad, and I relate to that on a certain level. But I also think Shane had it a lot worse than I did in a lot of other ways. People will often kind of look at somebody of wealth and think that, well, how bad could your life be? It can really suck, guys. Money doesn't fix everything. And it doesn't actually fix very much if emotionally your life is unstable, your father is very unstable, and is so deranged about their business endeavors that they're willing to prostitute your entire family in order to elevate the business.
Blade, what I forgot to mention last time, and I'll be honest here, I actually didn't know about Vince's childhood. I didn't know that there was incest in his family and that his stepfather abused him and that his relationship with his mom was it was toxic. So that I wasn't too familiar with. I do remember watching Vince McMahon documentary released by WWE, but I don't recall if they had mentioned that stuff. Maybe, and I forgot or something, but that wasn't news to me. It doesn't justify his actions, don't get me wrong, but I didn't realize that his childhood was that rough.
Yeah, so that goes back to a Playboy article that he took part in I think 2000 or slightly before, where he strongly implied that his mother sexually abused him, and he talked at length about how his stepfather abused him. I don't think that was sexual. I think that was more just violent abuse. But I think the other thing too is that the kind of narrative around Vince that he has cultivated over the years maybe the best part of this documentary is actually showing how difficult to believe a lot of it is.
Mm-hmm.
The way he talks about his dad, that his dad did tell him he's proud of him. Well, really, the more you know about Vince McMahon through this documentary and really through time, is he has a very fanciful way of thinking about things. I don't know that his dad ever did tell him he was proud of him. I definitely don't believe that his dad said, fuck those guys, you're doing great, Vinny. I don't think any of that ever happened.
Vince does lie.
They establish in this documentary the depth to which Vince is dishonest. And
pathological liar.
Like he couldn't remember the Sable lawsuit.
Right.
That's
Please.
That's directly related to his business. He seems to have a pretty good memory of everything else that ever happened in the history of his business. Vince just kind of tends to get foggy about certain things that he doesn't want to remember. So, needless to say, I think, if you want to watch it, if you have an interest in seeing it, it doesn't get into the gory details enough. Not because I think in a gossipy way we should want to know those things, but no, we should really know what this man was accused of. And I do think it glosses over other people in the picture. I do admire that Netflix at the very end shows that they have a deal with WWE, and they didn't run away from that and gloss over that. So I do think there was at least some recognition that there could be a conflict of interest in them putting this documentary out. There is a massive conflict of interest. So it was okay. I thought it was okay. I knew a lot of it. They definitely proved that Vince is an unreliable narrator in a different way than anybody else ever has. But if you really are interested to know about Vince McMahon through the eyes of a more neutral party, I would read the book Ringmaster. It is available on Audible. It's on Spotify. It's a long book, but it's an exhaustive document of Vince McMahon and the way he, his childhood, everything that's publicly known. Lots of interviews with people who've never really been brought into the picture before. That is a wellspring of information. It's a fantastic book. The author of that book wrote a really compelling book about Stan Lee as well. That will not excite people who are fans of Stan Lee, but a really exhaustive look at Vince McMahon. So that's all I want to talk about Vince McMahon, because I do not like that person, and fuck him. So, Joshi, we got bigger and better news to get to, so let's get to it.
Let's go.
We got to talk about WrestleDream.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, it is WrestleDream weekend. Joshi G. This is a WrestleDream preview and prediction special, as we always do. Last we left our fearless heroes. We were pretty down on this show last week, and for the last couple weeks, really. The build really didn't make a lot of sense to me and you, and we complained about the build, the lack of stories for the show. And to be fair, I think that still holds true in a lot of ways. There wasn't a lot of build, and there wasn't many stories. There was basically one story, okay? And Tony Khan has a choice to make with every single pay-per-view, okay? There's either going to be an overarching narrative that leads into the pay-per-view, okay? And I would say pretty much every pay-per-view this year has had some kind of narrative that's led into it. Whether it was Sting retiring, whether it was, the debuts of like Mercedes Moné, whether it was the ascension of Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay. Everything has had some, Will Ospreay and MJF, like there's Danielson and Swerve, there's been some kind of overarching story that's led into each show. And this one hasn't felt like that as much, except for the obvious Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson story, which honestly didn't feel like much of a build because it only got a short time to build. So, we've only known that this match was happening for 2 weeks. So, it just felt a little lackluster, and a lot of matches weren't announced until the last week or two. So the other approach, when you don't have that overarching narrative, is to just book fucking dream matches. And last week, what we knew for sure was that we were getting Katsuyori Shibata versus Jack Perry, which awesome, okay, but felt like that could have happened on a Dynamite for all we knew, right? And then you had Young Bucks versus Private Party. No build, really. Not, I won't say there was no story, but it was very rushed and it felt very slammed on television, Have Private Party been on television? Sure. Yes. That's different. But have they been winning? No, not really. No. So, it was kind of hard to find a lot of excitement for the show. And was I disappointed as somebody who spent a bunch of money on tickets for the show? Yeah. Yeah, I was.
Understandably.
And they just hadn't hit that dream match threshold. But with this Tuesday's Dynamite being very good, Title Tuesday that had one title match, it did hit that threshold. The matches that have been announced are very exciting, and we are going to talk all about it. Joshi, how do you feel? Do you think they've hit the threshold now?
I think they have, but I still have a couple of issues with the pay-per-view. I don't like that Jericho Briscoe is on the pay-per-view at all. They could have had a second women's match instead. I don't get the logic. I have no interest in this match. And considering that they have a stacked women's roster now and that a lot of viewers tune in for the women, you can't just have one women's match on the pay-per-views anymore. Mercedes isn't scheduled in a match, which is very bizarre. And
mystifying.
Yeah, it's mystifying. It doesn't make any sense. She absolutely should be wrestling on the show. I thought that they might book Mercedes versus Chris Statlander, but now it looks like it will be Chris versus Camille first. So I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know who's going to take the loss anymore. It seems too soon for anybody to lose. But anyway, they could have at least given us a tag match or something on the pay-per-view, or maybe a Mercedes Emmy Sakura rematch. I don't like that there's only one match on the show. I really don't.
I 100% agree with you. I don't understand why they would do that.
Yeah.
There is so much going on in the women's division. There's something they could have done. They could have done Deeb and a partner versus Aminata and Britt Baker. If Britt was, able to get out of Florida, I guess, and was feeling better. But the other thing, that I was talking with Lee Mardoni. Hey, Mardoni! About on Threads was they could have done a women's casino gauntlet match.
Right. That would have been fine.
If Mercedes isn't going to wrestle on the show, she's not hurt. She wrestled Emi Sakura on Tuesday. She's one of the biggest stars that you've signed. Why isn't she on the show? My other complaint is, where's Okada? This is an Antonio Inoki tribute.
Well, that's what I was going to say. No Okada, and also no New Japan representation whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm a little less frustrated about that, I'll say. And the reason why is because a lot of the people that I would have wanted to see from New Japan are in AEW now. You know, I was kind of hoping we might get a Tanahashi appearance. And that is for very selfish reasons because I've never seen him live. But those are frustration points for me. That aside, I'm going to say I am very excited for this show now, by and large. TK did end up coming through for us with the match quality, I got to say. So let's get into it. We're going to go from the top down. Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley for the world title is the main event. On Dynamite, they very much alluded to the fact that Bryan Danielson may not be paying attention enough to his little buddy, Wheeler Yuta. There was that tag match with Claudio and Pac versus Yuta and Danielson. You know, they've been kind of planting some seeds last week on Dynamite where Wheeler ran in with the hammer and it kind of looked for a minute like he might turn on Danielson, but he didn't. And then on Collision this last week, Claudio pulled Yuta to the side, told Pac to go take a hike, and kind of said, hey, I always took care of you. You know, I thought you knew me better than this. Like, I got you, you know, like I've always had your back and I always will. That was interesting to me. Claudio did not do anything to Danielson or to Wheeler really in the match until the very end.
Right.
Pac steals the hammer from ringside. And after the match, Claudio finally has it with Yuta and hits him in the gut with it a number of times. The match had ended when Pac tapped out to the yes lock or do the crossface. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the move right now. And then Danielson ends up kind of running them off and chanting yes, yes, yes. But Wheeler Yuta got the living shit kicked out of him during this whole kind of fiasco. And Danielson's doing his stupid yes stuff. And Yuta's behind him like, Brian, I need you. And he's like reaching out for him, and Danielson's oblivious. They're clearly setting up the audience to expect that something is amiss here. Joshi, your thoughts?
I thought there was a possibility that Wheeler might have turned on Danielson after the match, but once he got the living crap beat out of him, it was clear that wasn't the case. And also Marina beat the heck out of him too, which was cool. I do like what they're doing with Marina.
I do too.
But yes, I do think that Wheeler will probably cost Danielson the title at WrestleDream, and it definitely looks that way. And I'm not convinced that it's going to be Danielson's last full-time match yet. I don't know.
I think if he costs him the title, it will be, for sure. Like, you do remember last year at WrestleDream, Nick Wayne turned heel on Darby at WrestleDream.
I do, yeah.
Seattle Kid turned heel in Seattle. That was kind of mega heat. I'm wondering if they do the same thing with Yuta, where Yuta becomes a massive heel. But, you know, it kind of is like, what's pulling the strings of this whole story?
Right. We still don't know.
We were talking about this. I was talking on somebody's thread about this. Like, I don't know that Moxley's necessarily a true heel, okay? I feel like he's kind of motivated out of fear of what's coming. He keeps talking about this thing that's coming, okay? And to me, it feels more like the EVPs are still like, could somehow still be connected to this. You could trace that all the way to Shane McMahon, okay? But I feel like this show is being built around the heel turn of Wheeler Yuta more than a Shane McMahon appearance at this point.
Yeah, but how much longer can they continue with these riddles?
The story needs to become clearer at WrestleDream somehow. I just don't know how yet. There's a lot of stuff in the air.
Right, but I mean, I think that at WrestleDream we'll at least know who he's talking about, right? I don't think this can continue for much longer.
Moxley can't keep talking vaguely. Last year, they overplayed their hand with the Devil storyline, and it ended up biting them in the ass super hard. And that's why, you know, Danielson, I just read a story where he was saying he couldn't feel his legs in the match he had with Okada a couple weeks ago. Like, I don't think this guy can go much longer.
Yeah,
like,
that's not good. Yeah.
I think this might be his last full-time match.
Yeah, but it's just, let's say it is his last full-time match.
Right.
That's how his full-time career ends, though. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. Wouldn't you give the guy a better full-time ending, so to speak?
I think that there is a very real possibility that Danielson loses here. And I think there could be some shenanigans with Christian trying to do something with the contract. Okay. But he's kind of outnumbered right now because he's got the whole BCC to mess with. I think if Danielson does lose, they've got to reveal what Moxley's talking about so that it doesn't feel as dark, you know, so that Moxley can say, this is why I did what I did, you know. The other direction they could go is Danielson wins and Moxley realizes that Brian is tough enough to handle whatever's coming, right? But they definitely need to give a bigger payoff to whatever Moxley's so fearful of, right?
I agree with you.
Or what Moxley's talking about. But I think I'm gonna Tony's asking for a lot of blind faith, but the guy has been pretty on point this year. So this is a big story. I trust he's got something big up his sleeve. Yeah. So what's your prediction, Joshi? If you had to go one direction, what direction would it be?
I think Danielson's going to lose. Wheeler Yuta turns on him, and we hopefully find out what the heck Moxley's talking about. So if it's Shane McMahon, he shows up. I read that it could potentially be Sami Callihan and Josh Barnett. Hopefully that's not the big reveal, because that wouldn't be a huge surprise, really. I mean, I don't think people would care as much.
Nobody would care.
You know?
Nobody would care. That's just not... That's people online who don't think big picture. Like,
exactly.
They don't have the name recognition to carry enough weight to justify that. Like, they would be bit characters that could be added to the story, but they're not, like, it's not going to shake the landscape of wrestling to have those guys. Like, people would be chanting, "Who are you?" And they would be pissed.
Yeah.
That would be the dumbest screw the pooch move that Tony could make, and I think he's aware of that.
They might join. They might join BCC, but I don't.
That's what I'm saying. They could be small players added to the story, but they're not. Right. No, I just don't think that's big enough.
Well, what's your pick?
I'm gonna just for the sake of being different. I don't care about being correct. I'm gonna say Danielson wins, and
I hope you're right.
I do think Wheeler's going to turn on him. But I think that you do not want this to end in a super dark way. So it's either Danielson wins or Danielson loses, but the reason Moxley's doing all of this gets revealed. The one thing that is the X factor is Wheeler Yuta, you know?
Yeah.
What these guys have done to Yuta is not good, but it's really not that much different than what Danielson was doing to Yuta to try and toughen him up, right?
True.
Yuta's role in the BCC has always been about them toughening him up, right? So them hitting him with the hammer, doing all that stuff to him is just more of the same, really, right? So it's not like that can't be forgiven, right? But they have teased that there is something going on here between Yuta and Danielson. And so that makes me think Yuta could cost him the title. I'm going to go with Danielson somehow manages to pull this out, and we find out what Moxley's been talking about.
I do have one potential prediction, but it might not happen. It would be really nice, though. I do think there could be a possibility that Daniel Garcia becomes Team Danielson. We know how much he loves the guy. So that could work. I was thinking about that on Tuesday.
Could be.
When Moxley and Danielson were fighting, I thought, oh, maybe Garcia will come out and help Danielson, because Garcia is a Danielson guy. Mm-hmm. So just throwing it out there, maybe we'll see them do something together. I personally always wanted Daniel Garcia in BCC. I thought he was a terrific fit. They kind of teased it here and there, but then he ended up with Jericho. So if we could get that, even for a short period of time, obviously he wouldn't be in BCC, but with Danielson at least, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Well, they've got us on the edge of our seat. I mean, I think you've got to at least give it that, right? Where it's like, this could go one of like 4 different ways. Mm-hmm. And certainly with Garcia making the appearance, I feel like there's another direction for Daniel Garcia that's going to involve a very surprising finish at WrestleDream that we'll get to, that we will get to very shortly.
After, yes.
It doesn't have anything to do with Bryan Danielson, but we'll get to it.
Okay.
So let's see. So then we've got, so you're saying Danielson loses, Moxley wins the world title, and we find out why Moxley's been so terrified or so like,
yeah.
Moxley keeps saying you don't know what's coming. I don't think it's something Moxley is bringing on. Somebody on Threads brought up, what if it's kind of a slow motion invasion? And I think there's a possibility that that's true.
I do too.
Like an NWO-ish invasion. I think the most likely thing, though, is that would come with the Elite being the invading force, which is kind of an interesting way to do it, right? So I think one way or the other, we're going to get more information about what is going on there, whether it's Danielson or Moxley who wins. I'm saying Danielson. You're saying it's Moxley.
Right. But who knows?
It's a preview and prediction special, so we have to predict something. So, next match. Will Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Konosuke Takeshita for the international title. I like how they're positioning the international title as an extremely meaningful belt. I think it's a much more meaningful title at this current time than the Continental title. And so, I think this is a very interesting match. So, this week on Dynamite, Don Callis revealed that Will Ospreay, that he did send Konosuke Takeshita out to take out Ricochet and Ospreay. Ospreay confronted him. They finally had it out. Will Ospreay and Don Callis are enemies now. They are not buddies. And Takeshita and Ospreay are official enemies, not buddies, or not even unwitting allies. But there was also two stories that could be underlying what's going on as well. A trade was made.
Yeah.
Don Callis traded LFI to Jake the Snake Roberts, which I think is some really inspired booking. Roosh, Dralistico, and the newly added oh my God, they added Beast Mortis, the Dark Daddy, to LFI and put them with Jake Roberts in exchange for the services of one Lance Archer. Could Lance Archer factor into the finish of this match? And is that why the trade was made this week? I think that's a possibility. Ricochet came out to make the save once Ospreay was attacked. Once Ospreay was being beat down, Ricochet came out and kind of made the babyface save. So you have Takeshita as the obvious heel. You have Ricochet and Ospreay as babyfaces. I think the time might have come for Konosuke Takeshita to win this belt. What do you think?
I'm going with Takeshita. I think there's just too many factors in play right now that aren't going to work well for Ospreay. You have Lance Archer that might intervene in that match. And let me say this. If Lance Archer joining the Don Callis family means that we get more Lance Archer, I'm happy because he is absolutely incredible. Another possibility is that Fletcher interferes. So I don't know where Fletcher stands, and I think unfortunately it's not looking good for Will, and it's time for Takeshita to win some gold. I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. Before we knew that Ospreay was going to fight Swerve, so like in one of our very first episodes, I said I thought that Takeshita would be the one to beat Ospreay for the first time.
Yeah.
And this is kind of almost in a way, the only other person who's beaten him is MJF and Swerve. Mm-hmm. Tippy top people. By having Takeshita somehow eke out the win here, I think you shoot him to the moon. There's rumors, Fightful Select reported this week that Takeshita's in line for a big push.
Yeah.
And I think his next feud is with Okada. But
better be.
Well, they may be merging these titles, the
Yeah.
C2 and the international title. So there's a possibility of that. But I think Takeshita is going to come out on top in this one. That's my belief. I think this is a match people are very excited about, and I'm very excited about as well. It didn't make a lot of sense how we got here, but I don't care. We're getting fucking a dream triple threat. That is a dream triple threat.
Could be match of the night.
It very easily could be match of the night. The next match. So we're both predicting Takeshita wins.
Yes, absolutely. It has to be him. Let's freaking go, man.
I think Takeshita wins, and I think Kyle Fletcher turns.
I think so.
On Will. The next match, you've got Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale. And this is a match I'm very excited about. I told you this, if they added this match, I'd be very, very happy, and I am a very happy boy. Willow Nightingale and Mariah May are going to have a banger. Both these two are excellent, and my personal feeling is that Mariah May has to win. And these two, this match could have used a little more build, because I think it would have gotten both characters over a lot more if they had. Mariah May she was absolutely great on commentary this week, just bashing all kinds of people. She even brought up friendship bracelets during the match she was doing commentary, which, by the way, there was a killer four-way match to determine who she'd be facing. Britt Baker got sick. It had been announced on Collision that the winner of Britt versus Willow on Tuesday would have faced Mariah May. Instead, it became a four-way of Nyla Rose, Jamie Hayter, Willow Nightingale. Who is the fourth that I'm forgetting right now? Saraya.
Nyla, yeah.
So it was 3 ex-champions and Willow. And that was a cool way for Willow to get this opportunity. By the way, that was a fantastic four-way match. Unbelievable. Jamie Hayter is looking tip-top form. We've been talking about her all week. Joshi G is extremely excited about Jamie Hayter. Do you want to just gush about Jamie Hayter for a second?
Yes, let me gush. I love that Fatal 4-Way. Jamie Hayter is a goddess, a warrior. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, this woman hasn't wrestled. Well, she was gone for over a year, out of action. Comes back, hasn't skipped a beat. And in this Fatal 4-Way, she managed to pick up Nyla Rose and Willow. How? I have no freaking idea. But my goodness, the way this woman wrestles, she is on another level. Like I was telling you, iBlade, she's top tier for me. Never has a bad match. Looking as good as ever. I love her new gimmick. I love you, Jamie. I met her last year.
That's right.
When I went to Winnipeg. Her, yeah. Yes. When I went to Winnipeg for Dynamite. Of course, I went there to finally see Kenny Omega live. And I got to meet her. She was just such an amazing person. Loves Joshi Wrestling. Loves King's Road. Loves New Japan. Loves Japanese wrestling, essentially. A very nice personality. She told me that I could hold up her belt for a picture. Such a cool chick. Mm-hmm. And I love this woman so much. And also, I wanted to say very quickly that it was really cool to see Penelope Ford back in AEW. She's been gone for a very long time. I wasn't sure what her status was. She attacked Jamie, so I'm looking forward to seeing them wrestle each other.
R.I.P. Penelope.
And of course, down the line, I can't wait for Mariah May, Jamie Hayter, two Brits that love to work stiff. That should be great.
Oh, they're going to kill each other when the time comes.
Oh, my God. I can't freaking wait. And also, another thing, Nyla Rose looked really fantastic in that match.
She did.
My goodness.
She looked real good.
She was doing such great work. Willow looked amazing like always. Saraya looked good, to be honest.
Saraya took a lot of crazy-ass bumps.
Yeah. Let's give her some credit.
Yeah, you got to give her some credit.
She did not look bad in that match.
When she faced Jamie at Grand Slam, you saw a lot of people, and I understood why they were saying it. That, obviously Saraya really trusts Jamie because she's letting her do all this crazy shit with her. And, I could totally see that, okay? Saraya hasn't taken a lot of big bumps. She hasn't. And then in this match, Saraya got the shit beat out of her, and she, took some crazy shit. And it wasn't just from Jamie Hayter. She took it from Willow. She took it from Nyla. I mean, she was taking chair shots. She was taking everything. So Saraya looked very good in this match. I was actually quite impressed with her. So
yeah, I agree.
Willow, she wins. I believe Willow pinned Saraya in this match. So,
she
and
did.
she earned
She
the
did.
right to face Mariah. Willow comes up to the ramp. Mariah, who, like I said, was just awesome on commentary. Willow comes up and Mariah comes up, and Willow, kind of like, again, this is where so many people would have her be a chicken shit heel, have Mariah be a chicken shit heel, and back down to Willow, or pull some devious shit and like hit her from behind with the belt. Willow is like getting in her face, and Mariah looks like she's about to walk away and then hits Willow in the face with a headbutt. It looked awesome. Willow is like out, and Mariah just walks the fuck off. She's a badass, dude. Mariah is not a bullshitter. Like she comes correct.
I love Mariah. I think she's terrific. One of the best signings for sure. And I love that she had her backstage interview with Renee, and Willow just shows up out of nowhere, pounces the crap out of her. You go, Willow. Don't pounce the crap out of her. Willow, don't take shit from no one. Good for her.
And Willow had a busted lip from getting headbutt. And it looked badass and kind of hot, to be honest. But
well, Willow's a beautiful woman.
Hey, Willow is gorgeous.
Very beautiful
Gorgeous
woman. And such a lovely personality. Willow's so likable. But my prediction is this. Mariah retains. We get the returning Toni Storm, and maybe Mina as well.
I think
will show up.
I think Mariah comes out on top due to maybe the unwitting interference of Mina. I think maybe Toni Storm comes back, maybe. But I think Mina will definitely factor into this one for sure. And I agree with you. I have Mariah coming out on top in this one. Willow will have her time. It's not yet, though. I do think that there is actually enough ammunition to get these two to full gear and have a rematch even.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Willow has proven herself 10 times over with me over the last year and a half, and especially since the feud with Mercedes. She has, character-wise, everything-wise, Willow rules.
She does.
So I'm very much excited that I get to be in the crowd for this one. Next match we got on the docket here, Jack Perry, the Scapegoat, versus Katsuyori Shibata. I was a little nonplussed by this match, only because Shibata generally loses in big moments. And I did not like the idea of him just being served up to Jack Perry in this feud. However, something interesting happened on Dynamite. Daniel Garcia returned. And he announced that he is staying with AEW, which, fuck yeah, I'm excited about that.
Woo, Danny!
But as he's walking backstage, he's like clapping everybody's hands. And who's the guy he comes up to and shakes hands with?
His best friend.
It's Shibata. And they like pull each other in, kind of in that like I love you, but let's fucking fight soon kind of thing. Interesting, right? So after the Daniel Garcia moment, Jack Perry's cutting a promo on Shibata. And what he says is interesting. He says he's tired of, Shibata talking through his phone and his interpreter. He wants to speak the language of violence, but he says, come take this title from me. And it gives me just the faintest idea that we might see an upset here, and Shibata beats Jack Perry. And so this is my real outlier prediction of the night. I think Katsuyori Shibata wins the TNT title and then faces Garcia for it down the line.
It could happen. I also think there's a possibility that Perry retains and we get Perry Garcia down the line. I think I'm going to go with Perry, but there's a possibility that Shibata could win. And I definitely think that Daniel Garcia will be the TNT champion sooner than later.
The reason that I'm making this prediction is I think Jack Perry may have other things to do, especially if the Elite is going to be some kind of, invading force. I think Jack Perry could be called upon to do some other things. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm going to go a little out on a ledge and say I think Shibata's my pick to walk away with the title. Maybe wishful thinking, but it's going to be a great match. And it's great to see Shibata on a pay-per-view, in a featured match for a title. He hasn't done that yet, so that's really cool. Next, we have, speaking of the Elite, we have the Young Bucks defending the tag titles against Private Party. Interesting. Doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of ways, but now that we're here, I thought Isaiah and Mark Quinn cut some good promos on Dynamite this week. I thought that, they're trying to show that they're ready for this spot. So they had a moment with Stokely Hathaway where Stokely offered his services to them and they rejected him. And I think, in storyline, it makes perfect sense why they would reject him. My prediction for this is that the Young Bucks are going to win. And Stokely will use that to say, like, hey, you would have won if I was there. And this will shoot Private Party off in a direction where they have a chance at winning the belts down the line, but taking on a harder edge. That's my hope anyway. What do you think, Joshi?
Yeah, obviously the Bucks are going to retain. I don't think they're losing those titles. As for Private Party, do I want to see them with Stokely? I don't know. Right now, I'm not sure who Stokely should be paired with after we didn't even get a conclusion to his relationship with Chris Statlander. I'm not sure. So I don't know. We'll see. But as for the aftermath of the match, I think that Kenny and Ibushi, so the Golden Lovers, show up. That's my prediction, which would be really awesome.
I'm trying to keep my expectations somewhat low, but I think the Golden Lovers could very well walk down that ramp. The place is going to come fucking unglued if they do. And
oh, yeah.
That'll
Kenny!
Lead to them taking on the Bucks at Full Gear. Kenny! I remember when I was at All Out 2019, there was dudes in the stand who were going, Kenny! Like trying to do the Japanese ladies screaming for Kenny. Yes.
Yes.
That was pretty funny.
Kenny!
So, yeah, I think we're both predicting the Young Bucks are going to beat Private Party and take on the Golden Lovers at Full Gear. Next, we have a match that I am not super thrilled about. It's the match I am least looking forward to.
Who cares?
Well,
Sorry.
I mean, I don't blame you. There's Jericho and Mark Briscoe. I'm going to go Mark Briscoe on this one. I don't think you invoke Jay if Mark Briscoe's going to lose. I don't want to see another Jericho run with the ROH title. But honestly, I don't want to see Mark Briscoe with the ROH title. The ROH title doesn't mean shit to me anymore. I don't care about it. Nope. I wish it wasn't being defended on this show. It kind of dilutes the other title matches, and I would just much rather see another women's match on this show.
Seriously,
they had teased a potential Rocky Romero heel turn on Dynamite. So there's always the possibility that Rocky could interfere in this match and screw over Mark. When they brought Rocky into the conglomeration, it was kind of weird. It was kind of like, we're officially offering you this chance to be in the conglomeration, And so it feels like it's kind of setting up a Rocky Romero heel turn. I'm not a fan of this learning tree thing. There are a few people who are, and we will hear from them a little later in this show. But Rocky could be an entertaining part of the learning tree if he could inject some life into it or take it over from Jericho potentially. So we'll see. But I do think Mark Briscoe is going to win this match. And I mean, let's pray to God that he wins this match. I really think Chris Jericho needs to leave for a while.
Yeah, well, we've been saying this for a long time, and we're not being listened to. It's starting to get frustrating,
I'm willing to, if we're getting the match anyway, let's see how it plays out. So, Hologram versus Beast Mordos in a 2 out of 3 falls match. This could be the sleeper match of the night. What a fucking announcement that just came out of the blue on social media the night after Dynamite. I was already feeling way better about the show. And then I see this announced, and I'm like, what the fuck? Holy shit. Hologram versus the Dark Daddy in 2 out of 3 falls match. This is for the sickos. Absolutely for the sickos. Joshi, you said it to me, and I agree with you. What do you think's happening here?
Beast Mortos has to win. He has to. You can't have him lose to Hologram again. And also, the fans are reacting really well to the Beast, to the Dark Daddy. Give him a big win.
Hologram is getting over. You know, I think the fans are reacting really well to both of them. I think Dark Daddy has a very organic fan reaction that certainly we are a part of. And I think now with him being a part of LFI and being managed by Jake, I think that's going to be the thing that tips the scales in his favor. And I think, yes, I agree with you. I think Hologram is finally going to lose, probably with some shenanigans involved, to the Dark Daddy. I'm stoked. This is going to be an awesome match. I'm stoked. My buddy, who's going with me to the show, doesn't watch AEW regularly, but he is very aware of who Black Taurus is. So I think he's going to be extremely stoked. He has no idea who Hologram is. So I'm very excited for him to see this match. But
he's about to find out.
I think Dark Daddy is coming out on top in this one.
Me too.
He better, damn it.
If not, oh boy.
Yeah, we riot.
All the voodoo shit we're going to do, man.
Yeah, damn right. We have Darby Allin and Brody King. They had a good promo segment, I would say, on Dynamite to kick off the show. They really laid it out that Brody is jealous of Darby and jealous of the position he's in. But Darby is the one who helped him get signed by AEW. I thought this was a cool promo because it kind of took Brody out of that shadow of the House of Black, which he desperately needs if they're going to do anything with him as a singles competitor.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love the House of Black, and I think he belongs there, but you need to give him his own motivations. And to have some character light shed on this was really nice. And I think I don't have the clearest picture about who's going to win. I think Darby's going to win. But I think this match could have used a stipulation. Either, I don't want them to do another coffin match, but it could have been a no DQ match. It could have been a Texas Death match. It could have used a little extra spice, but I have no doubt this is going to be one of the better matches of the night. And I'm going to call Darby winning this one.
I'm not sure about this one. I think it's going to be very good, but I don't know. I don't really want to see Brody lose. But at the same time, after Darby took that huge loss against Moxley, is he really going to lose? So this one, I'm 50-50. I feel like 50-50 on this one, but I guess I'll go with Darby because that seems more likely. But yeah, I do agree with you. I do think that we do need to get more of Brody, in his singles matches and whatnot. He does a really good job with smaller wrestlers, I find. So, why not? I like the House of Black a lot too, but it's okay to see them on their own here and there as well.
I think that at the end of the day, the chemistry between these two is going to be great. I think Darby does need the win after losing to Moxley. The only, and it's also
makes sense.
Darby's in, the home state crowd. I think they're going to do a make good for Darby not getting that world title match. And I don't think Brody loses anything because he hasn't really done anything as a singles guy since the C2. So, maybe they use this as a way to start pushing in that direction. Or maybe they use this as a way to pull Darby into something deeper with the House of Black. Who knows? Maybe they use this as a way to bring back Julia Hart, and there's some chicanery. That could also happen.
That's true.
But I'm going to go with Darby. I think it's Darby.
Yeah, me too. Considering it takes place in Tacoma, which isn't far from Seattle, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
it's a 45-minute drive without traffic.
Yeah.
the last match that's been announced on the main card. This was one that I was on pins and needles because I felt like they were going to announce it, but I would have been fucking pissed if they didn't. Hangman Page is taking on the fucking Switchblade Jay White. I have seen Jay White live before, but never in a singles match and never in a match of this quality. These two are going to be fucking awesome. Switch had a little squash match with, we know him as classic Cody Chun out here in the Northwest. Cody is a bit of a Northwest legend. He's always on an AEW show when they're out here. He actually wrestled on Dark a number of times during the pandemic as well. Yeah. Huh. Jay killed him, and that's fine. You know, that's all Cody really needs is just a little TV time. Guy deserves it. But Jay White cut a really interesting promo. He's really bringing a different energy now. But I thought something interesting happened during his little promo with Tony Schiavone, and that was he talked about, I find it very interesting that the people who've been booing me are now the people cheering me. Kind of teasing a bit of a face turn for Jay White.
Does seem that way.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I did wish they actually had Hangman respond to Jay, or interrupt him, or have a brawl or something. It would have sold this one a little more for me, but I think Jay White might get his revenge in this match. Jay White's talking about heading towards the world title, which is exactly what Jay White needs to be doing.
Well, yeah, he belongs in the main event scene, right?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Do more with Jay fucking White. He's
please
right there with anybody that you would consider the best wrestler in the world. Jay White's right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to say, whether it's through chicanery with the guns and Juice and the Bang Bang Gang just getting their revenge on Hangman Page, I think Jay White is going to come out on top in this match. Joshi, your thoughts?
I think Jay White's going to win. Super stoked for this match. Love both men. However, I don't want this to be a one-off. This rivalry needs to continue, and they need to have a couple of matches because if, like, let's say they decide, okay, this is a one-off, and then we move on from this, that wouldn't sit well with me as this match hasn't gotten that much of a build. And I think this could be a really epic rivalry. So I say, give us more. Make sure it's not a one-off. That's all I'm asking for. But yes, it's going to be a great freaking match. Can't wait.
Yeah. I think this could be match of the night. I mean,
yeah.
So they've got us with the dream match card enough. Cons, no Mercedes, no Okada, one women's match. They could have done a lot better than that. The one pre-show match that they've announced is Atlantis Jr. versus Brian Cage. Give my boy Brian Cage the TV title.
Yeah.
It's a fairly meaningless title as it is, but give Brian Cage something, man. He needs a win.
I agree.
So the other thing that's booked for the main show that's been announced is Swerve Strickland's return. I got to trust that something big's going to happen here. So he said, let's talk business. At the pay-per-view, I think this will be the reveal of
Bobby Lashley?
Bobby Lashley, yes.
Definitely.
So I think Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin are going to make some kind of proposition to Swerve. Will Swerve join the Hurt Syndicate or whatever it's going to be called? I don't think so. No. I think that Swerve is going to be a babyface, and these guys are not being booked like babyfaces right now. I do think, however, that there is a chance that Nana and Swerve both join the Hurt Syndicate, and that Swerve steals Christian's contract somehow and maybe makes a play against Moxley at the end of the night. That is my wild-ass prediction.
That'd be awesome.
Because it is in his hometown.
Yeah.
Swerve has said publicly that this is not just a talking segment, that is bigger than that. He said that today. You sent me the article before we went live today. So Swerve saying you're going to see his next character evolution in this segment. So whatever that means, I don't know. Also, that could be why Mercedes is not wrestling, because if they're going to talk business, Mercedes has an offer from MVP as well.
Oh yeah, maybe she'll come out. Yeah, maybe she'll come out with MVP and Benjamin.
Yeah. And, I don't want to see Nana get kicked to the curb whatsoever. I would much rather see him join forces with MVP and all these people than be discarded by Swerve. But also, somehow getting Swerve and Monet on the same page seems kind of cool to me. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. See. But I think that there is a lot of potential to the segment. We'll just see how it goes. So that is our predictions for WrestleDream. I had asked on Threads about an hour before we started taping. I said, we're taping in an hour. Give me your, what's the match you're most looking forward to? And an insane prediction that will most certainly not come true. So let's read those off. Joshi, let's do it.
Sure, let's do it.
Nivlak Samaj, which I believe is just a name spelled backwards, said Darby versus Brody. They're here for the violence. That's a good pick. Fanac 42. I do read your usernames phonetically, so if there's something more clever intended by them, I don't know what that is. Said, I don't know if I can pick one match. Danielson versus Mox, Mariah versus Willow, Jericho versus Briscoe. Insane prediction is Mina Shirakawa comes out and declares she wants to marry me and form a throuple with Mariah May, which I'd be totally cool with. Wait, you said something that won't come true. Shaq returns. Which I responded, you SOB, she's mine. And then he responded back, she's Mina, you can't even get her name right. Very good. Very good stuff. The homie Neon Ghost said, as always, there's too many to pick just one. The more I think about each match, the more I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm totally invested in whatever happens here. Young Bucks versus Private Party, Moxley versus Danielson, Mariah versus Willow. Maybe I'm most excited for Jack Perry versus Shibata. Feel like I haven't seen a real banger of a match from either of them in a minute, so I'm hoping they bring the dog out of each other. Very good. Very good. Bleary Line 7 said the three-way is the match he's most excited for with Ospreay, Takeshita, and Ricochet. And Shane McMahon interfering, costing his former SmackDown authority figure, Bryan Danielson, the world title, whilst wearing the Young Bucks Reeboks. That's some
That'd
inspired.
cool.
That's some inspired thought process. Do you want to read the next one?
Books and body slams. Kenny Omega and Ibushi show up. Okay, that may not be insane, but I'm not getting my hopes up. I feel you, girl. Kenny's my guy, and I'm hoping he shows up too.
Yeah. Beats McGee said Danielson unleashes his vicious side and barely beats Mox, but Mox is happy because now the champ is ready for the greatest challenge in wrestling, Bill Goldberg. No.
Oh, gosh.
Absolutely not, Beats McGee. What's wrong with you? Don't even put that into the universe. 8-Bit Bruchet. The triple threat for the International Championship is my most anticipated for sure. The whole card looks great, even if the build has come off as a bit cobbled together. Biggest fear is Jericho beats Briscoe so he can feud with a returning Samoa Joe, where Joe beats him at Final Battle. I like Joe being champ, but not if Jericho holds the belt until then. I loved his Ocho run, but he doesn't need this, and I'm one of the sickos who actually enjoys the Learning Canopy faction. Or the Learning Canpoi is actually what he wrote, but I think it's Canopy. Too Fat to Cook, three-way match, and the Hologram versus Dark Daddy are must-watches for me. My most insane prediction, William Regal returns with his son to take over the BCC.
Oh, God.
That's a pretty insane prediction. Peg Me Bundy, friendo. Mox and Danielson strictly to see what happens with Wheeler. I'm so into the story they're telling and how it's kind of permeated throughout the roster in small ways. Hexen 78. As Mox and Danielson are about to square off, Kenny Omega appears behind Mox. The lights go out as Kenny delivers a Shingoku Satsu under a red spotlight. He tosses Mox's limp body aside and becomes Danielson's real opponent for the main event.
Oh, that's specific.
That would be insane. Well, I said batshit insane, you know?
Yeah.
Rucci says international three-way is the most I'm excited for, but Mox versus Danielson is the match I'm most intrigued by. Very good. Very good. WCFC 89. Match I'm most looking forward at WrestleDream, Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Takeshita. Insane prediction that will almost certainly not come true. Shane McMahon makes his debut, jumping off a high structure onto Tony Khan and tears both quads.
It's funny.
Keep it in the family, baby. Ms. Malaki says, completely hyped to see Jay White and Hangman. Also, the Motor City Machine Guns show up, costing Private Party the win.
No, that would be
Interesting.
nice, but
Yeah.
I think those guys are going to WWE, sadly.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll
Nobody
see.
knows for sure.
Yeah.
Go Mallory says, Kenny Omega finally returns.
With you.
Brett Haskell. Large William puts Jericho through a table during a ref bump, and Brian Keith gives Jericho an AA into the ring post. That's, I don't know if that's where we're going with this, but hey, who knows? W. Holzer, 35. Prediction. Swerve turns on Nana and joins MVP. Bobby Lashley appears with Powerhouse Hobbs as Nana's newest clients. Oh, interesting.
Never know. Could happen.
Interesting. Rerun 717 International Championship match, and Pretty Peter Avalon spears Brandon Cutler during the tag title match to reboot AEW Dark. Big Dad's 84 says, easily the international title match, though I half expect Willa and Mariah to steal the show. But the real kicker is when they announce the latest signing to AEW, and the contract does in fact say McMahon on it, but not Shane. And then a gif of Vince. No!
No, please
Absolutely
no.
not.
Please no.
Genosis 02. I think I'm most looking forward to the three-way match. It's sure to be entertaining chaos. My prediction is that Danielson wins the title match and Christian Cage comes down to the ring with his contract, but before he can sign it, Shane O'Mac's music hits. He steals the contract, signs it, hits Danielson with a stunner, and gets the 1, 2, 3, becoming the new AEW World Champ. If you want to kill AEW, I'm pretty sure that's how you do it. Dr. Fusion, I think everybody should be excited about the three-way. It's going to be fantastic. What bugs me is that I feel like I'm the only one not excited about the Mox Bryan Danielson match. Yeah, it's story, but if Bryan Danielson loses, he's not pushing younger talent. I don't like that at all. If he wins, it might push that story forward with Mox not able to help defend AEW from whatever is coming, but it's so damned vague, it's annoying. Or maybe I don't like the idea of Shane McMahon showing up. Hard to say. Dr. Fusion, fair enough. Andrew OP says, I think it's a really good card overall. I think they will be adding Stat and Camille too. The Danielson-Mox match is what I'm most looking forward to. 1, I'm sure it will be a great match because they are both great. 2, it should lead to the next phase of this new BCC story. The prediction, Shane shows up, but for the part I hope isn't true, is actually pulling the strings for the BCC. I think Shane with the Elite is way better if he goes to AEW.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yes. And then Nagatalaki. Last comment. International title, and it isn't close. Insane prediction. Golden Lovers return to confront the Young Bucks. That is really, 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 really great stuff. Good stuff from everybody. Joshi, do you have any further thoughts on any of this?
No, I pretty much agree with everybody. I think the Golden Lovers showing up is a very strong possibility. Bobby Lashley as well. As for Shane McMahon, we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to be there live. I'm very excited. I think this is going to be a fantastic show. Hopefully you guys will be watching on pay-per-view. We will be back next week talking all about the live experience, the pay-per-view itself, Dynamite, and all the other good shit. But until then, I'm Blade Daly.
I'm Joshi G.
And, well, Pro Wrestling Forever, really.